what's your job title?
My job title could be, well, head of wardrobe for Blood and Chocolate, but I actually also known as a wardrobe supervisor.
Wardrobe supervisor, because it's not your only job, Blood and Chocolate, is it? You also work at Hull Truck.
Yes, I'm head of wardrobe at Hull Truck Theatre.
Very good, very good. Well, we'll concentrate on Blood and Chocolate a bit today. So, what does your role as wardrobe supervisor actually entail on Blood and Chocolate?
So it's my job to get the designer Anna what she wants for the budget that we've got and the logistics of how a show moves along from A to B, B to C in the script and for the show.
Okay, so you're in charge of anything that touches wardrobe at all. So that's any jewellery, hats,
glasses,
skirts, things. And Blood and Chocolate's unusual, isn't it? Because it's a lot bigger than a normal production. Do you just want to talk about how much bigger it is?
I mean, obviously, I think this is probably even bigger than West End stuff because we've got a cast of 200 community, 4 Hope professional members of the actors going to come, and each character, say community-wise, probably have about 2, if not 3 costumes each.
Okay, so that's 700 costumes.
Could be.
Okay.
And some of them are full changes. So we've got full on. A woman might have a skirt and a shirt and a hat change, not a shoe change, and other times a change can be simply as just putting a hat on or taking a coat off. So it's like full costume change, or it could just be a simple hat change. So
as well as overseeing that, you've got to oversee a pretty big costume team as well, haven't you? How many people have you got making costumes at the moment?
We have some lovely volunteers. I think probably at the moment we've got about 25, 30. In a normal wardrobe department, I think even on a big scale, they probably might only have about 10.
10 at most. How many have you got at Hull Truck, just out of interest?
I don't have any full-time members of wardrobe. I have freelancers, and probably at most I have 3.
Okay, so and you get them in as and when you need them.
Yeah, the freelancers. Yeah, it's just me normally.
So what are the big differences in the challenges you face on Blood and Chocolate compared to what you normally do with shows at Hull Truck?
I think the sheer amount of costumes is one thing, and because of the period of World War One, we can't find these, in the shops. We can't go to Marks and Spencer's and buy it. So it's just working out how we're going to get them. So that is a case of making them, which I think quite a lot of the women's stuff would be made, or hiring them from an external company, or hoping that we can find some items of clothing that we can use from donations as well.
Right, okay. And then adapting them and kind of using them wherever possible.
Yeah.
And it's kind of make, do, amend really, isn't it? It's kind of wherever you can get.
Manipulation, I call it quite a lot.
Manipulation.
Clothing manipulation and fabric manipulation.
So how did you get into this? What kind of training and experience have you had to be able to get into a position of head of wardrobe at a producing company like Hull Truck, and then on this project, Blood and Chocolate?
I was trained. I did a degree down in Bournemouth a long time ago, and I went on to work for Angels, who are a big costumiers in London.
They're huge, aren't they?
They're the biggest costumiers in Europe. I actually lived in New Zealand for a bit, and I just walked into a film set and went, I used to work for Angels, and I went, oh yeah, have a job. So unfortunately, sometimes it is who you know.
Yeah.
But then I went off and I did bridal for 6 years. I used to make couture wedding dresses.
Oh really?
So if anyone getting married, I can do that as well.
So that's a totally different. I mean, what are the differences moving from that into making costume for theatre? What was your change of path? How did you manage to kind of see that through?
The thing about costumes and fashion is that most costumes are made to measure, and they're made in a really old-fashioned, classic way. Like, period tailors are absolutely so skilled, it's unbelievable. More than people these days that do speed tailoring. So you can imagine that when that moves on to making a wedding dress, every single outfit, every dress you made is a one-off. And has to fit that person absolutely completely. So I suppose it was quite an easy transition for me, really. And
then after you did a degree, and then did you because you worked at Northern College of Costume, didn't you go through a course there?
I did her course about 3 years ago now.
Okay, and what stuff did you learn there that you hadn't known before, do you think?
It's just what I found from doing Pauline's course was that there's no right or wrong way of doing anything. You know, it's having the confidence to know, you know, that whichever way you're going to do it is going to end up fitting correctly. And it's quite hard to explain this. Yeah, because, you know, even putting waistbands on, there's different ways of doing it. It just depends on which order you do it first. And there's things like different interfacings and different ways of using the fabrics as well. And also, I mean, on that particular course, depending on what period you're doing, you need to really look about what fabric and what kind of way of making was available at that time. Like you wouldn't go and you would make a Tudor dress with a sewing machine, but you have to understand that actually at the time it wouldn't have been made with the sewing machine.
So how can you hide the fact that it's been made with the sewing
machine? Yeah, or unfortunately, like you do for lots of TV stuff, if it was done by hand, all your finishing on top would have to be done by hand.
Right, okay. That's good.
Some people make
good
you
thing
do
we're
it
not
by,
doing Tudor then.
Yeah, or too close up.
Yeah. So those are the costume skills. So you obviously you know your materials, you know your periods. What are the other skills you need to have to be in a position that you are as a wardrobe supervisor, rather than maybe somebody who's like Paula who's cutting or something? What other skills do you think you need?
You have to be quite a people person. With all designers that I work with, you have to really get inside their head and understand where they're coming from and why they have chosen these designs and because they're not always right. It's like a design process for them. So you have to you have to get inside their mind. And then from that, be able to think for them a little bit. So when I go off shopping or sourcing by myself, I kind of know what the designer wants.
Yeah.
So it's a massive personal skill. It's quite a PA skill sometimes as well.
Really?
Yeah.
And then, because alongside that, how about the budgeting? Because we know, because we've been talking budgets for weeks now, we'll do for many more months. Mm-hmm. How did you get those skills together? Or did you just learn on the job?
I think that's just learning. It's just experience. From doing it for so many years now, you know how much things cost. You know that if you're looking for silk and you need silk that's going to cost £5p a metre, not that you can. You know it's the places that you go to get that.
Yeah.
Like if I go down to Goldhawk Road in London, then you're going to find the most beautiful colours of silk for sometimes £5 a metre. Or you go to Berwick Street in London where you're paying £25, £30 a metre, so you don't go there.
So you know where the suppliers are, where to get your deals.
And they are all, they're all over the country sometimes, or mail order, or abroad sometimes.
So it's a lot of searching for the best deal.
Yeah, patience as well. I mean, eBay's amazing. I don't know what we did before eBay.
So what would be your top tips for anybody looking to get into the costume kind of area of careers for theatre?
I think you need to really, really love what you want to do, because it's quite a long mind, numbing job sometimes and quite stressful. I also just want to say, going back to your question just before as well, one of the things to do is also work out the logistics of it. So you can't have a load of people in costume if they need to do a quick change in 20 seconds in the period costume. So that's something that's quite important as well when it comes to dealing with the designers.
Yeah.
So logistics-wise, I think you need to have your head screwed on.
And so just talk us through what we're doing at Blood Shop. You talk about First World War. What more specifics? What are you kind of working to? What's unusual that you're having to do on this, or what are the big challenges? I mean, you've got some designs there, but
yeah, I mean, as far as uniforms concerned, I feel that it's quite important to have them bob on correct for the time. I've spoken to loads of different people that do reenactment stuff, and there's so much to remember and think about. What kind of boots they would have had, and some of them are so correct, and they go, "Oh, you can't have that. They wouldn't have been made in those times." So trying to keep that correct is hard work, quite a challenge. But there's the ladies are quite a challenge as well. Once again, it's a uniform, so we have to make sure that's right. But actually, there's no references, hardly any references for them, because these ladies called the wardens. So
you've got soldiers, you've got female wardens. Mm-hmm. What are the kind of other kind of main costume areas that you're going to have to look at? I mean, there'll be many specifics, I suppose.
Yeah, we've got chocolate workers, obviously, with being blood and chocolate. Mm-hmm. So the kind of things that they would have worn in the factories. whether they're making ammo or whether they're making other things, but we've kind of tried to keep it all like...
Again, it's a uniform sort of
yeah,
thing.
Yeah, and it would be something that they would have been given as well and had to look after. So we have to make them look like they've been used. They not like straight off the sewing machine. So we have to break them all down, make sure they look worn.
What's breaking down, just for people who don't know?
Breaking down is when you distress a fabric or a costume to make it look like it's not brand new. So sometimes that's as simple as just putting something through the washing machine over and over and over again, so it has that kind of dull look to it. In particular, on this show, some of the uniforms need to be look like they've just come back from war, so there'd be quite a lot of blood and mud or chocolate. Lots of cheese grating sometimes, or sanders. Cement mixes are quite fun, but I don't think I'm allowed to have one of those on this show.
No, definitely not. I always love the breaking down thing when people do things as specific as relating to people's jobs. So like if they're a plumber, they break it down so their knees and their elbows are worn more and stuff like that. I always love that specificity.
No, it's completely, especially, and even if someone's been wounded, you have to be really, really careful about how that person's been wounded and how, say if there's a blood spatter, that blood spatter has to be in the right way. It's a bit like CSI, to be honest. You know, you have to really think about it. Yeah, and if something's old, if someone's just been worn with loads, you know, it would be that the wrists have been worn down more and elbows, and you know, where people touch their collars, they'd be a little bit more battered than what they would be if they were brand new.
So you're in week 2 of kind of being here at the costume department. We can't see much of it in this particular shot. How's it feel now you're into the space? Because you've got quite a lot of space, haven't you?
Yeah,
here?
We're slowly working into it. It's been nice today having people actually at sewing machines, and you have this lovely silence, but you know, the machines going, knowing that, you know, by the end of the day there'd be something.
That's actually something.
That actually, yeah, you know, the fabric's all around us, but it doesn't exist. And then suddenly, in the space of a couple of hours, you've got some hats or an apron or a coat or whatever it might be. So it's a really nice day today.
Fantastic.
Ask me again in 3 months' time, I might be saying something
different.
different.
Might be different. Lovely. Thank you very much. Nice to meet you, Charlotte.
Thank you.